Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So everybody knows by now that Joe Biden's approval ratings are in the toilet. They're in the absolute gutter. And when you look in certain issues that a lot of people vote on, that a lot of people care about, for example, the economy, his approval ratings are even lower. And this is very true, and this is something that's going to affect him greatly come next fall, come 2024, especially in a place like the Rust Belt where Democrats have been losing a lot of ground ever since 2008 when Obama took all of the Rust Belt states by sizable margins. And as a result, Democrats have to be panicking. And there were some polls that came out of the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Ohio. 3 of 4 states that went in Biden's direction in 2020. These are states that are going to be very competitive in 2024, and Donald Trump is looking to pick them off once again. And it seems like the numbers are very favorable to Trump. So we're going to dive into it. We have polls out of each of these states that we're going to look into. But first, I have to tell you guys about our latest sponsor over at Gold Mining Inc. because China's real estate bubble is absolutely collapsing. In 2008, when the subprime mortgage crisis nearly ended modern capitalism, housing was 8% of the US GDP, while 25% of China's. It's an epic meltdown, and it's just the beginning. Meanwhile, in the US, inflation's so high that the Fed is talking about raising interest rates further, choking the credit out of the economy completely. Everything's expensive, and you know that. And gold is perfect for this environment, but it's near all-time highs already. So I want to present a company called Gold Mining Inc. trading on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker GLDG. The reason is that this is a company that trades at multi-year lows, extremely cheap. Their gold's only worth $1 an ounce. So if you go to wealthresearchgroup.com/cheap gold, there's an entire presentation explaining how this company is effectively 80 or 90% more discounted than anything out there. So if you're bullish on gold, I urge you to stop everything you're doing and download their carefully drafted report. Now, the link is in the description or the pinned comment down below. So we talk about Biden's approval rating, and we talk about the key states that will dictate the outcome of 2024. Everybody agrees that Ohio is probably going to go in Donald Trump's column, but the margin there does matter quite a bit because Republicans are looking to take that Senate seat in Ohio. And if Trump is winning the state by, let's say, 6 to 8, that seat is a toss-up. But if he's winning it by 10 to 12 or even more than that, that basically all but guarantees that Sherrod Brown goes down and that Senate seat flips Republican, which would give them, combined with West Virginia, 51 seats out of the gate, which would determine the fact that they would win the United States Senate, even without Montana. Now, I know they're going to want Montana. They're going to want Arizona. They're going to go for a lot more states than just Ohio and West Virginia, but that's the absolute floor. And if they're able to get that, that's important. That's why Ohio, even though it's going to go to Trump, you got to watch the margins there. So either way, let's take a look at some of these polls that came out. We'll start off with Ohio. Ohio released a poll out of Emerson that has Donald Trump up over Biden by 12 percentage points. Yes, there's a lot of undecideds, but honestly, this is very plausible given the fact that Biden's approval has taken a nosedive. And when you look at the state of Ohio and you look at the trends, even from 2016 to 2020, Republicans grew in a lot of places in Ohio. And these trends continued in many places in the midterms, and they will likely continue further in the state of Ohio, especially as the state party's more competent than, for example, Michigan's, Wisconsin's, or Pennsylvania's. So looking at that, it's pretty evident that Ohio very well can flip. And I know the Senate polls are lagging behind. There's not a lot exactly that a lot of people know about the Republican candidates, which I think explains part of that gap. But at the same time, the fact you have an incumbent in Sherrod Brown that is not polling much higher than Biden, and he's not even polling at 40%, that's kind of a big problem for Democrats if they want to hold that Senate seat there. It basically, if this continues in other polls that we see leading up to the election, could mean that Sherrod Brown very well could be DOA come 2024, but it just depends on how the presidential margin goes. Is that able to kind of pull the Republican along for the ride to victory? We'll have to see. But Ohio is just one of these states that's showing this. We had another recent poll out of the state of Pennsylvania, which we talked about, and it shows Donald Trump is up by 9. Now, is this kind of an outlier? Do I expect Trump to win Pennsylvania by 9? Not necessarily, but this is a change of scenery from the polls back in 2016 or 2020 that had Donald Trump down in Pennsylvania in every single poll, and then election rolls around and Pennsylvania both times neck and neck. We know that. It also shows Bob Casey up by 8% over Dave McCormick, although I think Casey would have a higher floor than that. It's interesting to note that his floor is lower than what it usually would be expected to be. But either way, even if we say it's an outlier, Pennsylvania's up for grabs. Biden's unpopular in Pennsylvania, and this is a state that is very winnable, and that Donald Trump needs to make sure he can go out there and win the state come 2024, and I believe he can. The messaging, you're talking about the messaging, the pro-worker messaging, that's improving, and Biden's whole Scranton Joe facade that he tried to coast on in 2020, not going to work as well with all of the globalist policies that he has. And then you talk about the whole East Palestine incident, him not going there. Obviously, that's Ohio. I think that's going to play more into Ohio in terms of Trump's margin there, but still Western Pennsylvania, they know about it. It shows that Biden doesn't care about the people that he used to claim to pretend to represent, and it kind of is more ammunition for Donald Trump to use. So Pennsylvania is a state that's very winnable. I don't know what the end result's going to be. Probably not Trump plus 9, but hey, he's coasting right now, so we got to still pretend like it's neck and neck. We got to go on offense. We can't take anything for granted. But like I said, because people will always invoke the midterms, Donald Trump was not on the ballot. You had Dr. Oz and Mastriano, who was outspent 50-1, leading the ticket there. And Joe Biden, who's very unpopular, was not on the ballot. You had a lieutenant governor there who obviously was not well liked either. And you also had an attorney general who had very favorable ratings. Those were who was leading the Democrat ticket in 2022, not Joe Biden, because if Joe Biden and Trump were on that ballot in 2022, you would have had a vastly different electorate turnout. That's what a lot of people, I think, just don't seem to understand. So, furthermore, we have to talk about Michigan. Michigan is a very important state. Donald Trump won it against all odds in 2016. 2020, it fell a little bit short, but still, nevertheless, this is an uphill climb regardless, because Michigan's Republican Party has grown increasingly incompetent. But still, Trump is tailoring his messaging perfectly for the state of Michigan, talking about how we need to do everything we can to protect auto workers, and that's helping him greatly. Latest poll shows he's up by 7 over Joe Biden, whose approval rating is tanking in the state of Michigan. It also shows that Donald Trump would lose, ironically enough, to Gretchen Whitmer, but it doesn't matter because Gretchen Whitmer is not leading the ticket in 2024. She led the ticket in 2022, but she's not leading it in 2024. So again, can't invoke the midterms for predicting 2024. Once again, for many people in the comments, you know who you are. Biden's approval rating's underwater by 27 points. That's believable. He's not popular in the state of Michigan. They don't like how he's handled the economy. If Trump keeps it up with the messaging, guess what's going to happen? He very well could defeat the odds and win Michigan, especially because of the third-party factor. You're probably going to see an increased third-party vote share. You had that in 2016. You didn't have that in 2020, and those benefit Trump. The presence of them does indeed help Trump to some extent. We could debate the total extent of it, but nevertheless, having them there definitely could help Trump. If he gets 49% of the vote in Michigan, that's all you need to win. And he got 47.8% on the books in 2020, to the point where it's like, yeah, Biden tanking, Trump improves his messaging. Michigan's very well on the table for Republicans. And another state that's had very bad polling historically that has underestimated Republicans, especially Donald Trump, more so than other Republicans, is the state of Wisconsin. And there was a poll that came out of Wisconsin, once again, from Emerson, and it shows Donald Trump is in the lead. He's at 42%, Biden's at 40%. So there are undecideds there in this poll, but still, if Trump's leading in Ohio by 4 more points than what he won it by in 2020 or 2016, he's probably winning Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania again just because of his strength that he has among blue-collar white voters, which constitute a near majority or a majority of the electorate in all 4 of those states, which are key. And by the way, if Donald Trump just wins what he won in 2020 and adds Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania to his total, guess what? Donald Trump will be elected the 47th president of the United States in 2024. And this poll shows Donald Trump leading Biden by 2 points in Wisconsin. Is that going to be enough to carry the Republican Senate nominee, probably named Eric Hovde, to victory? I don't know. We'll have to see. But either way, he does lead Biden by 2 points in this poll. And it once again shows Evers is above water, Biden's not. What does this exactly tell you? It tells you that you can't use the midterms to predict presidential elections. And what's the path to victory in Wisconsin? Well, you talk about running up the score in a lot of these rural counties and not having massive continued losses in the Milwaukee suburbs, which I think are doable because I think Washington, if anything, could bounce back. Waukesha is probably going to be stagnant because of educational demography, could move a point or 2 to the left, not a whole lot. Ozaukee will move left, but it's the smallest of those 3, and you could easily see a Trump reversion in some of these smaller metro areas like Green Bay or the Fox cities. So we'll have to see. But if you get a good turnout apparatus, you learn from the mistakes of the election strategy in 2020 and 2022, Wisconsin is a state that should be primed for the taking. And it's ironic to see what happened in Pennsylvania because you see Democrats institute automatic voter registration, and it's backfired completely because the newly registered voters are registering Republican like 10-1. It's insane. But either way, it is true that you could say it's unlikely to see a universe where Trump wins Wisconsin by less than what he wins Pennsylvania by or what he wins Michigan by. And I think it's true. I don't think these are going to end up being the final numbers overall because they do contradict and polls are still polls. You can take them with a grain of salt, and you should. But either way, the fact we're seeing polls in these Rust Belt states that show that Biden's unpopular and that Trump is doing very well compared to 2020 or even 2016, that is a very, very good thing to see. So when it comes to 2024, this is what you're zeroing in on. You use the Rust Belt strategy. You improve the messaging. It seems like Donald Trump is doing that, and he is playing to win. He's playing to win. He's already basically won the primary. Now we're talking about the general. We're talking about Trump going up against this absolute disaster of an administration in Biden, who's underwater by almost 25 points on the economy. It's like this is a prime opportunity, and it seems like if Trump keeps this up, he's going to win. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.